Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Howdy there, listeners.
Partners and listeners.
Welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone. Boy, what an accent that was.
It was pretty good.
I don't think it was.
You know, that wouldn't pass in the old Wild West, but maybe it'll pass in this podcast studio. What's up, everyone? You're watching
Slash listening.
Unfortunately listening, because you don't see these cowboy hats we're wearing. You're just like, what is happening? To the Command Zone podcast. I am one of your esteemed outlaws today, Jimmy Wong.
And I am the other outlaw, Rachel Weeks.
Yay, it's Precon time. Upgrades, everyone's favorite.
Yeah, we are upgrading the Mardu Precon, the most wanted red, white, black, outlaw-themed Precon from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. This deck is full of ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah, the new creature type Outlaws, which is very exciting. Assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks. Warlocks somehow made it
The cut in there. I
don't know.
Ninjas, not quite.
Ninjas, no. Warlocks,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Brina's in this deck.
That is true. The demagogue.
Teacher.
Yeah. She's an outlaw. A lot of crimes being committed, a lot of outlaws. But before we get into it, we got to talk about our sponsors because you're going to want to pick up these precons as well as the upgrade cards that we talk about. CardKingdom.com/command is the place to go for all of your Magic single sealed product needs and more. So if you're looking to break the law or break into the game of Magic the Gathering, CardKingdom.com/command has a bunch of great options for you. They've got their own pre-constructed decks that they make. You can also just follow our Precon upgrade guides. Let's say you have a bunch of friends that just love Westerns for some reason. Well, buy all four of the precons, follow the upgrade guides, get into a really fun match, and CardKingdom.com/command will send all of it to you in one convenient package, which is the best part about it because you get all your cards at once. You can upgrade, you can build a brand new deck from scratch, and just have it ready to go. And you're supporting this show at the same time. So once again, CardKingdom.com/command. Go check it out.
Once those cards are in your hand, you're going to need to protect them. Go over to ULTRAPRO.com/command to pick up the highest quality Magic accessories in the market. ULTRAPRO has access to all of the officially licensed Magic art. That means if you're the one that's into Western or your friends is.
If you're into stuff.
Yeah.
ULTRAPRO's got you covered.
It's on sleeves and deck boxes, playmats, plus they have the brand new, highly tested Apex sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
They released a Thunder Junction specific Apex sleeve. They're really nice. They shuffle really well. It's like the Oko like set art, I believe.
That's awesome.
Is what it is.
Yeah, the Apex sleeves are some of the best sleeves that we've ever had at the office used, and they're incredible.
Yeah.
They really are great, patterned, beautiful. We recommend it.
Yeah, go pick those up and if you're buying this precon, go get the Olivia Opulent Outlaw mat, the full art for all of these face precons are totally gorgeous and are available on a ton of merch over at ULTRAPRO. Plus, they have deals that feel like a steal.
As you're breaking into the vault,
exactly.
You can steal. Yeah, I got it.
Just sign up for the ULTRAPRO website and you will be informed anytime they do a flash sale. Get great prices on high quality Magic accessories for your next build. Again, ULTRAPRO.com/command.
All right. And the final way you can support the show is directly. Patreon.com/command zone. We made you type 4 extra letters in this one because we know you love the Command Zone so much. Obviously, this show is supported by our listeners and our viewers. Patreon is the place that you can go to access stuff like our community Discord, to ask Rachel, myself, Josh, members from the office questions directly on our Discord. We'll also follow you on Instagram and Twitter. That's another benefit of just the $5 tier. We have exclusive content at the $10 tier. There's a lot of really sweet stuff that you get to do. We occasionally even take patron suggestions and things that they're submitting to the episodes, like our last draft episode was from the patrons. Also, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you watch the episode between Josh and Prof if you need a real reason to understand why Patreon is so important for a business like this. They go really in depth, very candid about what it means to run a business. So I would highly suggest that if you've ever been on the fence about Patreon and want to find out more. So patreon.com/command zone, and we shout out one lucky patron every single week. So this week's episode is dedicated to Vincent Ethier. Ethier.
Vincent, you rock.
Yes. And maybe...
You're an outlaw, Vincent.
Yeah. You're doing a good thing. You're protected from the law with your ULTRAPRO sleeves. Okay, cool.
I don't know if that's included on the ULTRAPRO warranty.
No, they don't advertise on the website.
Protect yourself from the popo with ULTRAPRO sleeves.
Lock up your collection, but don't get locked up yourself. Okay.
Also, you were talking about it, and I had done a deck idea for a spaghetti western deck that's Eldrazi and Cowboys.
Oh, spaghetti western. That's great. There's a new Emrakul coming out. So.
Yeah, I know. More Eldrazi's to come.
Yeah, all right.
But let's focus. Today, we are talking about the most wanted precon. Like we said, we're going to do an upgrade. We're going to add 10 cards to it. We're going to take 10 cards out using a budget of only $50. And that upgrade will get this deck in fighting shape. We're going to try and make sure that if you show up with a precon to your next game night, that you're going to feel like you are right on par with all of the other decks at the table.
Yeah.
So it's time to get to know this deck. And what way to get to know it than by meeting the face commander.
Yeah, Olivia's back. Now she's Mardu, and she is opulent. It's Olivia, opulent outlaw. Yay.
She's always been opulent.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She added white to her color identity this time. So 1 red, white, and a black for a 3/3 vampire assassin with flying and lifelink. Whenever one or more outlaws you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So you got assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are outlaws. Olivia, notably, is an assassin, thus an outlaw. And then she has an activated ability. You can pay 3 generic mana and sacrifice 2 treasures, and then put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, yeah, 2 treasures. That's a lot. But the text above reads a lot like our favorite Facebreaker.
Yeah.
Which means that if you have Olivia and another outlaw hit one player and the other outlaw hit another player, you get 2 treasures right then and there.
Pretty good. If you hit them with more than 1 outlaw, you still only make 1. So you want to hit each player once so you can maximize the number of treasures.
Yeah, you could get 3 by hitting everyone at once.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is sweet, Commander. This is definitely, you want, in my mind, cheap outlaws with evasion that probably have combat damage triggers or just want to attack generally.
Yeah, and also because you're an attacky deck, you're going to want a lot of recursion or ways to make sure your creatures do get through or they can come back. And this deck does pack a lot of that. So Olivia's pretty sweet in herself. And just as a 4-mana flying lifelink, she can be a threat. Notably, 2/1 counters on each creature you control. That's a lot of power.
That's a big buff. I wouldn't expect to be using this ability until the late game.
Yes.
Once you've built up a board. I think early games, you're just going to use those treasures to ramp and get ahead and protect your board if you need to interact.
Yeah.
But in the late game, when you've stockpiled some of those treasures, that's when you're going to slam it and try and push your outlaws over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to use treasures for mana at first.
Yeah, I mean, because
it also costs 3 to activate the ability.
Yeah, so it effectively costs you 5 mana, right? Because it's 2 treasures and you have to pay 3 regular mana.
And you've done some effort to annoy the table by attacking them to create those treasures, most likely. So it's definitely something, yeah, like Rachel said, wait till you're ready to Alpha Strike and maybe activate this 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I would think so.
Then you're really going to pack in that power and knock some people out.
This is more of an outlaw deck than a treasure deck. I think the treasures are incidental. I wouldn't include a ton of stuff that like Brass's Bounty that just makes a ton of treasures.
Yeah.
I don't like you might be doing Academy Manufacturer stuff, but
Academy Manufacturer or Zorn or like those kinds of cards can definitely help you out.
Like, but push over the top.
Yeah, but to me this more reads like this is a go wide Outlaws deck that's going to generate value and then that value is use the treasures to play more things or to build yourself back, because this deck, if it gets board wiped, it's the best antidote against it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have ward, so board wipes are really good. I'm just kidding. All right.
The backup commander is a bit the opposite. This is Vihan Goldwaker, red, white, black. So 3 mana altogether for a 3/3. It says other outlaws you control have, he's a dwarf warlock. So an outlaw. Other outlaws you control have vigilance and haste.
Okay.
And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have treasures you control become 3/3 construct assassin artifact creatures in addition to their other types until end of turn.
Ooh.
So this is definitely a treasure deck. This is focused on making as many treasures as possible and attacking with them?
Yeah. Notably, Vihan does not make the treasures himself. And he also cares about outlaws. Giving them vigilance and haste is pretty sweet, because this means you could play Vihan, then Olivia, and swing instantly with both of them.
But you don't make make the treasures from Olivia until after combat.
After combat, yeah. So it's like kind of a nombo, sort of a combo. So in the Vihan deck, you're wanting to include a lot of cards that make treasures early, and then those can become creatures. But even then, I don't think so often I would rather have my treasures be mana than a 3/3.
I think
also they're only on your turn.
I think Vihan's kind of weird because it's a 3-mana commander that isn't really a building commander. It's like a finishing commander where I think you spend your early turns just making a ton of treasures and then you cast Vihan and attack with all your treasures.
Yeah, cast Vihan, sack 2 of them, give them all 2/1/1 counters. Now they're all 5/5s.
Yeah. So he's like weirdly a late game commander, where Olivia is more expensive but is more of an early game commander.
Yeah, and you're constantly playing this game of, do I sack my treasures or do I wait for them to use them for other payoffs? And every turn that you just have treasures piling up and you're not doing anything with them feels kind of bad. So I feel like you want to just, again, use them to ramp, and then Olivia feels much safer as a commander that you would use to lead this deck specifically.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so those are the face commanders. We're going to take a look at the deck from a bit of a zoomed out perspective, let you get to know what kind of cards are in this deck and what the deck wants to be doing. We're going to do so starting with the notable reprints. These are all the cards that are worth $5 or more at time of recording. Of course, these values will go down as they're announced because that's how reprints work. But right now, they're doing good.
They're doing good. Yeah, the bounties are still on their heads.
Yeah, exactly.
The bounties have not been claimed on these cards yet. And there's great reprint value in this deck, which we're very happy about. So let's just go down the list here.
Yeah.
Again, these are notable reprints, $5 or more. There are 11 cards worth $5 or more at this point. Okay, first up is Command Beacon. A high draft pick for me in my lands.
Yeah.
My lands draft. Maybe because of that? No, it's not. There's no way. This just allows you to sacrifice this land, and then you can put your commander into your hand from the command zone. So this can go in most any commander-focused decks, especially the ones that cost a lot of mana, because recasting it when it goes from like 6 to 8 that's your whole turn.
Yeah, this is sitting at $13 right now, Command Beacon.
Nice.
The next one is Reign of Riches. You know what this one's from?
New Cabana Commander?
New Cabana Commander, yeah.
It's a good one.
This is an $8 reprint. This turns your treasures into Cascade. So the first spell that you cast every turn with a treasure gains Cascade. So this, again, fights with your commander. Do I sack it for counters?
Yeah.
Or do I spend it and get the Cascade? And the answer is probably Cascade if you have Reign of Riches on board.
It also makes you 2 treasures when it comes in, which is great. Seize the Spotlight is the next one, sitting at $7. This is 2 in a red. This basically allows your opponents to choose Fame or Fortune. If they choose Fame, you gain a control of a creature they control until end of turn, like an act of treason. If they choose Fortune, you draw a card and create a treasure token.
Yeah, this one's a little wacky in this deck because normally it's best when you have sack outlets or if you can really threaten to do something by stealing those cards. But in a deck that wants to deal combat damage, it does remove a couple of blockers if they give you a creature on their board.
And I found that if you steal 1 creature and then draw 2 cards, make 2 treasures,
busted. Pretty
much any variation of this is still very good. If everyone gives you a creature, or they just don't care, they have no creatures on board, and they say, choose a creature for mine, then it's not so great. But if you have a sack outlet, this card I think is really powerful, and it's great in a deck like this. Yeah,
that one's all the way up to $7. Lightning Greaves still holding strong at $7. Obviously very powerful.
Yep, every Olivia deck likes a Lightning Greaves, it seems. Next up is Witch of the Moors. This is a $6 card. This basically says if you gain life at the end of your turn, you get to each opponent sacrifices a creature, and you return up to 1 creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it gravediggers something out. It requires lifelink. In this deck, it seems kind of weird, but Olivia does have lifelink on her, and there's a couple other life gain sources in here.
Yeah.
But it's a powerful effect.
It definitely is. And it goes along with this next card, which is Vain Witch Coven, is a $6 warlock. It says when you gain life, you pay black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's the same sort of thing where if you hit with your commander, you can regrow a card to your hand.
Notably, they're both warlocks.
They are.
So they are not assassins, outlaws. Okay, next up we have Academy Manufacturer.
Gotta be.
So this is a $6 card right now, and this card is just, they'll reprint this 1,000 times, and they'll still, it's kind of like the Lightning Greaves type effect, Soul Ring type effect. It's just so good. If you would make a clue, food, or treasure, instead you create 1 of each.
Very powerful.
So yeah, incredibly powerful with your commander. You could be making 2 clues, 2 foods, 2 treasures, 3 clues, all clues, a clue and a food together. So obviously very powerful, very good.
This next one, I can't believe it's all the way up to $6. It's Boros Charm.
How charming.
It's been a long time since it's got a good reprint, I guess. But it's very powerful, especially in an aggressive deck. It'll protect your board, or it can burn somebody out or get double strike, so you get 2 treasures.
Yeah, it's kind of like Boros' version of Heroic Intervention. It's a much cheaper Teferi's Protection type thing. There's also that 4-mana Convoke one.
Yeah,
that
Clever Concealment.
Clever Concealment, right? So, and this is Boros, so it's 2 mana, but also can just sometimes kill someone with damage or give a creature double strike. And that will double the triggers from Olivia as well, because it's doing it twice, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool. We have 2 lands. One of them is $5.50, the other is $5. The first is Sulphurous Springs, which is the black-red pain land, and then Fetid Heath, which is the filter land for white-black. Just cool that they have lands now in the slots that we can add more value to the deck. We were asking for this before, and it's really great to see that these lands don't really, no one's complaining to get more of these reprinted, and Precons, I think, are a great place to do so.
And Heliod's Intervention is the final reprint at $5. It's a great way to gain life if you're doing the life gain thing, but also it's a really good way to pick off some target artifacts and enchantments on the board.
A lot of them. This card I've seen just blow people out.
I love Heliod's Intervention. It's nice to see it reprinted, especially sitting at $5.
Don't love Heliod. I enjoy his Intervention, though.
That brings us to the total reprint value of the deck, which is...
Card shuffling?
Yeah.
We're at a poker saloon now.
$143.50.
The bounty board is up.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, these decks are pre-ordering for about $40 to $50, so $143 is a huge amount of value for people that are picking up this deck.
Yeah, and we're not counting the new cards and the 3 mainstay cards that are also in the deck because we don't actually know the value of those.
Right. So this only makes up 80% of the value of this deck. There's additional value with all the new cards.
Yeah, 80% of the cards, yeah. So I love this. You started adding this in, which is like how much bang for your buck do you get? So if you're buying this at, let's say, $45, every $1 you spend is basically worth $3.19 of cards.
Pretty good. Tripling your value there. We're happy to see this. It's been a good, like the last couple of sets had really good reprint value. This is not quite as high as a lot of the ones that we've seen recently, but still something to be very excited about. This is the second highest value in Thunder Junction, which averages around $130 for reprint value.
Cool. And if you want to see all the new cards, those will be in the deck reveal episode that we did for this as well. You can check it out on our podcast. Okay, let's talk about the pew 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 stats. It'd be cool if we had the stats logo. Podcast editors don't do this, but have like bullet holes get blasted through it. You know, or I guess not.
They're
bullets.
gonna have to do it, Jimmy. You said it.
You know, that hangs and go pew pew pew, and then it's like on the sign and goes. Yeah.
I knew exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, but in this case, they don't have guns in Thunder Junction, right? They kind of have like laser shooters.
Yeah. They did. They were like, let's not have guns. Let's have 2 guns, and the laser comes out the middle.
Yeah.
They're like gun with, and then the gun comes out the bottom.
They look like those laser swords from Halo.
Wow.
All right, let's talk about the stats. So there's 8 ways to ramp in this deck. Your commander obviously is one of them. Which seems a little low. Yeah,
8's lower than I like to see in this kind of thing, especially when a lot of those cards are going to be represented by treasure cards.
And you have to deal combat damage as well with your commander to ramp. However, because your commander does have ramp on it, this does mitigate it a little bit.
Yeah.
15 ways to draw cards. Okay.
Pretty good.
10 ways of targeted interaction. 1 board wipe. That to me
quite low.
Is quite low, but this deck does not want to get board wiped, and it will probably not want board wipe itself. And then 37 lands. Solid.
The deck stats that are more specific to this deck that aren't just the veggies, there are 35 outlaws in this deck. That is a lot. That is well above what we normally consider to be a themed deck, which is like 25 to 30 cards. So you've got plenty of outlaws. You even have some room to take some out if you want to put in some additional board wipes.
Yeah.
There are 11 ways to make treasures in this deck. I only included the treasure ones that can like repeatedly make treasures as ramp.
Yeah.
If they only make treasures once, then they weren't included in the ramp category. There are 7 cards that make creature tokens, 5 of which make outlaw tokens specifically. So there is this like go wide sort of semi-theme going on. And then I wanted to look a little closer at this life gain thing because there were some cards that were specifically dedicated to when you gain life. And there are 8 cards that allow you to gain life in some kind of way, either have lifelink or have a trigger that gains you life.
Or there's some extort going on, yeah.
Yeah, so a very, very small amount of slots are dedicated to the life gain, but you do have it on your commander.
Cool. So let's talk about some of the best cards in the deck. I thought 2 of the 3 that we're going to talk about are actually the new cards that they printed, which is great.
Yeah.
We love to see that. The first is a new card called Greywater's Fixer. 2 black and red for a 4/4. It's a mercenary and a lizard. Each outlaw creature card in your graveyard has Encore X, where X is its mana value. So you can exile it and then you pay its Encore cost, which is going to be, if it's a 3 mana card, it's just 3 mana. And then for each opponent, you create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn if able. They gain haste, sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step, and activate only as a sorcery. So this is like rebuy every single card in your graveyard, all 35 outlaws that could be in there. And
Encore is so good with your commander's ability because you want to deal damage to each one. So if you can Encore a creature with evasion and reliably hit all 3, you're going to get your mana back like immediately.
Yeah, and even if 2 of them get chumped or whatever, you don't care because you're getting it out of your graveyard again for free value. So it's like, cool, awesome, love it.
Yeah, I love this recursion piece on a good body. A 4/4 is pretty solid to attack with and get some treasures off of it as well.
Yeah, and this also seems like a card you play late game. Play this, and then you just crack a bunch of treasures or whatever, and you just build a huge board. Maybe you use Olivia's ability, but it just allows to really just surprise people out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is definitely a double spell in the late game. This next one I am excited about, and I need to look through my decks to see how good it is. It's Back in Town.
Yeah.
The boys are back in town. X2 and a black for a sorcery that says return X target outlaw creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield.
The battlefield.
So it just reanimates any number of outlaws.
5 mana, reanimate 2 cards. Pretty good.
But it gets even better the more that you target, right?
Yeah.
7 reanimate 4 things.
Yeah, that's game breaking.
And especially if you have these higher end cards that we're talking about. Greywater's Fixer is a 4-drop.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some more a little bit later that are higher value and give you a ton of value once you get to attack. You're an aggressive deck. You do have to fear a board wipe. So having a plan once you've been blown out, like Back in Town, is great.
Yes, agreed. And then the last card is not a new one, but it's a very good one in this deck. It's Mari, the Killing Quill. Can anyone guess where this is from? Strixhaven? I think. 1 black for a vampire assassin. That's a 3/2. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it with a hit counter on it.
I love it.
Yeah, hit him. And then it says assassins, mercenaries, and rogues, which are all outlaws, by the way, you control have Death Touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a hit counter from a card that player owns in exile. If you do, draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. So I love this because it is just straight up graveyard hate. It's a card like Douthly Voidwalker in a way where it sits there, and anytime a creature an opponent controls dies, it doesn't go to the graveyard. It gets exiled, and it stays there forever. Because whenever any of your assassins, mercenaries, outlaw, rogues do have Death Touch now, by the way, so they're much more likely to get in. You remove those things, you get the 2 treasures you need for Olivia, and you draw a card.
Yeah,
it's all the value of the deck, packed into 1 card.
This I think a lot of people looked at Mari and were really, really excited about it, but they were like, I can't build this mono black deck yet.
Yeah.
There's no support for it. And this is the perfect place for her. And maybe there's enough support for Mari in the command zone. But you do have 10 pieces of targeted interaction, so you should be able to trigger that at least some of the time by yourself.
And other creatures just incidentally dying, sack outlets, all that stuff.
Mari seems very powerful and suggests that, again, we're really leaning into this combat damage thing. We need creatures with evasion, especially, exclusively outlaws.
Yeah, and sorry to the pirates and warlocks that Mari does not look at and care about.
Yeah, we're a little warlock heavy for Mari, but that's okay. It's like it covers everything else.
Yeah.
So before we get into the upgrade, I want to talk about what changes you wanted to make when upgrading this deck, because it does have it is a little bit clunky out of the box.
Yeah. Which a lot of precons are sometimes, especially because they'll just jam in like the life gain cards. It's like, where do these come from? What if you don't want Olivia as your commander?
Yeah.
So I did like the fact that the deck is filled with outlaws. But I feel like the game plan isn't as strong because it kind of like says like, here's some threatened effects over here. We've got some life gain synergy over here. We've got some like edict effects. We've got some 1/1 counter synergy. We've got some aristocrats. So it felt like a little bit all over the place. So with my ads, I kind of wanted to make sure that it focused a little bit more and just had more punching power as well.
Yeah, I think the curve is a little high naturally in this deck for something that wants to deal combat damage so fast.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be able to get creatures under Olivia so that when you play Olivia, you can make treasures right away.
Totally.
And there's a lot of like 5, even up to like 7 drop creatures, which are good for closing out the game, but you really need a higher density of cheap things so you can make as many treasures as possible the turn that Olivia comes down.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like what Back in Town and Greywater's Fixer are doing for this deck, because you're going to get your stuff removed. You're going to be very scary as the Mardu aggressive deck. So I wanted also to find a way to add to that sort of like graveyard synergy and board protection while continuing on the theme of what the deck's already doing.
Yeah. There's when you're playing aggro, you really need to be aware of how many cards you're committing to the battlefield and what kind of value you're getting out of it. I think this is the kind of thing where if you can reliably hit all 3 of your opponents every turn,
oh boy,
no more cards on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Until you're ready to like set up a win, because right now you're just accruing value. You want to hang on to your cards. You want to not flag as a huge threat until you're ready to go over the top.
Yep.
You got to be a sneaky outlaw.
Sneaky. Okay. So we're going to get into the cards to take out and the cards to put in the most exciting part of the episode. But before we do, why don't you have a rootin', hollerin', tootin' good time and take a break to listen to our mid-roll sponsor ads. And they're going to be real fun. Don't skip them. We'll see you soon.
See you real soon.
So, I win the game. And cut!
All right, reset, back to 1.
Checking the gate. How do I keep up with everything going on here at the command zone? In my DUER jeans, of course.
Places.
These jeans are so comfortable, I gotta be on the move to show them off right, like this. What are we running from?
Yeah, we'll figure it out in post. Nice jeans.
Nice jeans.
Now, Magic players know the importance of staples, and a good pair of jeans are a staple part of any wardrobe.
Jackets for your next scene.
DUER denim, it's flexible.
Like Soul Ring, it can go anywhere.
Plus, with its breathability and temperature regulation, it's gonna have you feeling fresh.
So you're equipped for anything, from the battlefield to the boardroom.
All right, team. How are those Q4 projections coming along?
Our future positionings feel as comfortable as those jeans.
Mana curves are down, wins are up.
What if we were to leverage our core competencies by synergizing with our point of sale?
Let's run it up the flagpole.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Because here at the command zone, we're not just talkers, we're doers.
Optimize your legs with DUER jeans.
Upgrade your wardrobe and order your own pair of DUER jeans today. Check out DUER's flagship stores in LA or Denver, or shop online at shopduer.com/command.
Right now, our listeners can get 20% off site-wide when you use our special URL, shopduer.com/command.
This is an awesome deal. Don't wait to get 20% off. Go now to shopduer.com/command.
Welcome one and all to Honest Rutstein's Wild West Shopatoria. We've got keychains, novelty hot sauce, reanimated skeletons, you name it, we've got it. Yes sir, ever since I was relocated to Thunder Junction, business has been booming. But it's not just the change of scenery, I also got Shopify, the global commerce platform that helped me grow my business every step of the way. Back in Innistrad, I had to hawk my tiny skulls out of my creepy trench coat all by myself. But that was the old Rutstein. Now, Shopify makes everything so much easier. Shopify lets me sell my wares everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Plus, they got great customer service and the internet's best converting checkout, helping you turn Windows shoppers into window buyers. If you sell windows, which I do. Now, thanks to Shopify, people don't call me Old Rutstein the Grave Robber, they call me Honest Rutstein Entrepreneur. Though I do still rob graves, my man's gotta have a hobby.
Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/TCZ, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/TCZ now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/TCZ.
Oh gosh, the Thunder Junction Jamboree is right around the corner, and I'm supposed to bring everyone presents. Now when it comes to gifting, your old pal Fibblethip is, unsurprisingly, totally lost. Or at least I was, before I stumbled across gift mode on Etsy. It made finding the perfect gift so easy, I almost didn't believe my eye. Just tap or click gift mode on Etsy and answer a few quick questions about who you're shopping for. Then, it instantly points you in the right direction with curated suggestions based on hundreds of personas. For the beauty guru Ariette, an enchanting personalized hand mirror. For the fitness fanatic Jolene, a custom gym bag she'll treasure forever. And for my favorite foodie, the Gitrog, a curated spice blend to help those arms and legs go down easier. Look, we all know how stressful gifting can be. Will they like what I got? Do they already have it? Which way's the store? Oh God, where am I? But with the independent sellers on Etsy, you can bring the wow factor with a personal touch. So remember, when you're plotting to surprise someone special with a present they'll love, gift mode has you covered. Now, the Jamboree should be just around this. Wait, how'd I get to Amonkhet? Not again!
Need to find the perfect gift? Don't panic. Try gift mode on Etsy now.
All right, my new deck list is complete. Now, let's see which cards I don't already own and buy them.
Wait, how'd you do that without going through a million boxes?
Oh, I just use ARCHIDEKT. They make it super easy to upload and manage your collection. Then, when you're done brewing a deck, you can sort it by collection status to see what you already have.
So this group is just cards you don't own?
Yep, I just click buy this stack, and it takes me right to Card Kingdom.
Whoa.
ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/commandzone.
Welcome back.
Howdy do.
Partners and partnets. I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Westerns.
Yeah, I definitely heard them say partnets all the time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure partners.
It's a girl partner.
Yeah.
Or a little partner.
A little, I think it's a little partner.
It's a tiny partner.
Because if you look at like Magic partners,
yeah.
it doesn't. It's all inclusive, right?
Absolutely.
So partnet is just like
it's
a little baby partner.
If you're a partner,
it's like those little cacti. That one Mardu, the desert commander
guy has the Kira, the little
cute.
cactus.
Well, you'll see it on screen, I'm sure, right, editors? Right? Yeah, we'll show it to you.
She's a little cutie. All right,
yeah, she's a partnet. Okay.
Without further ado, it is time to get to this upgrade. We're gonna add 10 cards to this deck to get it into fighting shape. Of course, we're gonna take 10 cards out to make room for it. We used a budget of $50 to do this.
All right.
So your deck is gonna be in peak fitness.
Yeah, it's buff. It's been working out. The first card I wanted to add is stuff that synergizes around the fact that we do have +1/+1 counters in the deck. And I like that we also, what it generally means to me is that you want your creatures to be bigger and scarier. Because the faster, if you have a 5/5 instead of a 4/4 over 4 turns, that's going to deal 20 damage versus 16. And then you have multiple creatures. That extra little 1/1 counter or the 2 +1/+1 counters will make a big difference. Or extra damage. So the first card here is Uncivil Unrest.
This card's sweet.
This card is sweet. So let's read it. It's a 4 red enchantment. Non-token creatures you control have Riot. So they can enter the battlefield with your choice of a 1/1 counter or haste, which is super good with Olivia because you want to be hitting in, but sometimes you just want to make them bigger too. And here's the best part. If a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it would deal combat damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead.
Oh, this card does so much work in the deck. It makes your little creatures threatening. It gives them haste so they can attack right away if you rebuild, or it makes them a little bit bigger if you're not ready to start attacking.
Yeah, and then in the late game, when you activate Olivia's ability, all of a sudden, every single one of your creatures does double the damage. So
scary.
Yeah, because you don't want to be in a place where it's like, I have 3 players to take out, I can reliably take out 1 and kind of just poke the other 2. You want to be able to close it out, and this card allows you to do that. And spoiler alert, I did not like one of the other cards in the deck that's 7 mana with a similar ability, so this is kind of a replacement for that as well.
Uncivil Unrest is sitting at $11 and is going to do a ton of work here. So
yeah, especially with this next card.
I think this is some sweet tech. Sitting at $4.50, you've added Cauldron of Souls.
Everyone loves a good cauldron.
It's a 5-mana artifact. Yeah, it's for all the warlocks.
Oh, good point.
It taps and it says choose any number of target creatures. Each of those creatures gains Persist until end of turn. Persist says when it dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it.
Well, how do you get rid of -1/-1 counters if you want to use Cauldron of Souls on the same target again?
Well, with +1/+1 counters, darling.
Oh my goodness, would you look at that? So Olivia can get rid of those -1/-1 counters, and so can Uncivil Unrest. So Uncivil Unrest and Cauldron of Souls is just a combo by itself. Someone tries to kill a creature, someone board wipes, you give them all Persist, they die, they come back, Uncivil Unrest can put them on 1 counter, they're back to their regular.
Yeah, now you have Cauldron of Souls for board protection every single turn. It's not that kind of thing where you burn it once and now you can't protect that same board again.
Yeah, and if you need to, you can also just use Olivia's ability so you don't have to have the Uncivil Unrest out. Okay, other ways to synergize with counters is adding another board wipe. What kind of board wipe would you say? Well, this is a $16 board wipe because it hasn't been reprinted in a while. Mm-hmm. It's a 3 white wipe for Damning Verdict. And it says destroy all creatures with no counters on them.
This is nice. This is exactly the kind of board wipe that you want in an aggressive deck. It's one-sided. It means you get to keep most of your board, and you get to do a ton of damage to follow it up.
Yeah.
I like Damning Verdict a bunch.
It's a damn verdict.
This next one goes really, really well with +1/+1 counters, but also just gives you a ton of power on the board. It's Anim Pakal 1000th Moon.
Not an outlaw, by the way.
Not an outlaw, but has a lot going for it. It's 1 red-white for a human soldier. It's when you attack with 1 or more non-gnome creatures.
Those are outlaws.
Okay. Put a +1/+1 counter on Anim Pakal. Then create X11 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Anim Pakal.
Okay, so instantly, Anim does not need to attack, notably.
Nope, so you can attack with anything.
Yeah, you can play Anim, and then you play Olivia, or you can play Anim after you play Olivia, and then Olivia swings, you get a 1/1 counter on Anim, and then you instantly create 2 1/1 gnomes.
Yeah, and then this is a kind of threat in a box that I really do like in aggressive decks like this, where you can put it down, and if it isn't answered, it's just going to be a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger problem.
Yeah, kind of like what Krenko does.
Yeah, where it's like, you have to remove this, or you're just going to die to this.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a removal check, which is a good index like this.
And the best part about this to me is that Anim itself does not have to attack. There is a Krenko that makes 1/1 red goblins based on his...
attack.
He has to attack, and so you'll often find that people just instantly try and kill him and remove him. But Anim just gets to sit around and do the Adeline thing, which is great.
And she's only $2.75.
Bingo. Okay, next category of cards I wanted to add were ones that, again, make more ways to use the graveyard, because you're going to put threats out, people are going to want to remove them. Typically, this is the kind of deck where everyone goes, kill that first. They're swinging at me. Look at all their value. Look at all the treasures. So cards that use the graveyard are very important. So the first one is an outlaw. It is also another 5-mana card. Sorry, all. It's Archpriest of Shadows. 3 white for a 4/4 warlock with backup 1. So when it enters the battlefield, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. If it is a creature, if that's another creature, it gains the following abilities until end of turn, which is just the regular text on Archpriest of Shadows, which is Death Touch, and then whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Nice.
So this can come down, give Olivia Death Touch and this ability. It can deal that damage and instantly bring something back to the battlefield. And then this itself has that ability for the rest of the time. Because that's just what the card is.
Not to mention, it's just an evasive outlaw that brings your creatures back, so you can just keep attacking kind of without an abandon.
Yeah.
Because you know that you have an ability to bring it back.
Yeah. And I really like when a creature is able to have an effect the turn it's played. So this gives it to another creature, which is really powerful.
Yeah.
And then the next turn you can start swinging with it.
This next creature is sick. I have this in one of my decks, and I really love it.
It's so
Body
cool.
Launderer. Also,
An outlaw.
Definitely an outlaw. It's an ogre rogue. It's 2 black for a 3/3 with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Body Launderer connives. So you draw a card, discard a card. If you discard a non-land card, you put a counter on Body Launderer. When Body Launderer dies, return another target non-rogue creature card with equal or lesser power from your graveyard to the battlefield. A lot that is to like about this card.
Yeah, card advantage. Or not card advantage, just more card selection.
Yeah, card selection, evasive outlaw, and that recursion.
Yeah, and when you're conniving, you may be putting the card that you're bringing back with it into the graveyard. Same with the Archpriest of Shadows. It works really well. Also gets 1/1 counters, so it works well with like the Uncivil Unrest card earlier. So there's just a lot to like here. And Damning Verdict, all that stuff.
Yeah, I really like that this gives you a little bit of extra card selection, along with being itself a threat. Because this deck really doesn't want to run a ton of cards that don't present threats themselves. So you get recursion on a body. That's the best.
Yeah.
Speaking of card advantage.
Yay, that's the next category, is getting a little more card advantage in here.
This card's cracked. I'm excited that you put it on here.
When I saw it, I was like, wow, I'm so happy I was able to find this on Scryfall. It's Headliner Scarlet, 3 in a red from the Clue box game, by the way. It's a 3/3 with haste, human warlock. And it says, whenever Headliner Scarlet enters the battlefield, creatures target player controls can't block this turn. So that works super well with Olivia. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at it and play that card this turn. So, instant effect when it comes in, you play it, has haste, is a warlock, will be able to almost guaranteed hit someone and get the trigger off of Olivia. And then it just becomes a recurring card advantage outlet for you for the rest of the game.
Yeah, this card's awesome. I love that someone can feel safe behind their wall of tokens and you can slam it and deal a ton of damage that they're not ready for.
Yeah. This also could be an end of the game for someone.
Yeah.
I got to hold up blockers for you. Headliner Scarlet. Sacrifice with Olivia's ability. Everyone's +2/+2. You're dead.
Yeah. This card's sweet, and I think we're going to see a lot of play from it. I've seen it in 1v1, and it's feels wild.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to start seeing it more in Commander, especially in these decks that really, really want to push through for combat damage triggers.
Yeah. Okay, next up for another card advantage card. Oh, by the way, Headliner Scarlet, $2.
Yeah,
So
still
bad.
cheap.
Okay, another one I really like is Sanguine Spy. This is 2 in a black for a 2/3 vampire rogue. It's an outlaw. It has menace and lifelink.
Nice.
So again, an evasive threat. And you can pay 1 mana and sacrifice another creature. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. And then, at the beginning of your end step, if there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card.
A lot going on here that's great. You get a little card selection with the Surveils. You get a sack outlet, which is just sort of always good in a deck that has bodies and has a couple of threaten effects in it.
Yeah.
And you draw cards off of it.
Yep, and again, it synergizes really well with Archpriest of Shadows, Body Launderer,
comes down
Back
before
in
your
Town,
commander,
Greywater's
has
Fixer. Has evasion built in, comes down for your commander. And I really love stealing people's stuff and sacking it. There's no greater pleasure.
Sanguine Spy, is only 50 cents.
Yeah.
I can't believe this next card wasn't on the list. I checked the list again.
Oh, inside the deck?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this card is perfect for it. Maybe it would just push the reprint value too high.
A little bit too high. It's Grim Hireling, which is currently sitting at $10, but this is a 4-mana Tiefling Rogue. It says whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create 2 treasure tokens.
Perfect.
Then it has an activated ability that says black, sack X treasures. Target creature gets -X until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery.
So you're probably not using that second ability too much, but this card is Olivia, and it gets you the treasures you need for Olivia's ability without having to have Olivia out.
Yeah, and even more treasures. This thing spirals out of hand so fast.
If you have this in Olivia, you're making 3 treasures per person hit.
Oh my god!
Yikes!
And there's a really cool way to use them that came out recently. Those treasures. Yeah, you wrote it down.
Yeah, I did write it down.
It's cool.
We're going into both universes beyond here: the D&D one, the Clue one, and then the Fallout one. This last card is Kellogg, Dangerous Mind. 1 black and red for a 3/2 with first strike and haste. It's a human mercenary. No freaking way.
I love that he's a mercenary.
Yeah.
Very clever.
And he's a first strike with haste, so he's an evasive attacker that can attack the moment it comes down. Whenever Kellogg attacks, you create a treasure token.
Great.
And then sacrifice 5 treasures. Gain control of target creature for as long as you control Kellogg. Activate only as a sorcery.
Sweet. This is another sort of push and pull of how you're using your treasures, but we've added a couple of really great ways to make more.
Yeah.
And it just keeps them on their toes, right? If you have a Kellogg activation that you can activate to steal something, and you have enough treasures that you could pump your board, and you have enough treasures that you could remove a thing with Grim Hireling, they have a lot of problems to figure out which one is the biggest.
That's a good point.
You're always going to get value out of those treasures, not to mention just sacking it.
Yeah. And then you can also sack the creatures you steal, potentially. There's a couple of other cards in the deck that do have sacrifice on them. So yeah, I really like Kellogg here. 5 treasures may seem like a lot, but I think in this deck, you're going to be making a lot, especially if you get the Grim Hireling out and you're doing some other stuff. Another card I thought about adding, which we mentioned earlier, is Zorn. Anything that doubles the amount of treasures you're making. But I think it's up to you. There's a lot of cards in this deck that could have been cut on top of all of that. But this, I just kind of want to make a little synergistic. I like that all the upgrades kind of work with themselves, too.
Yeah.
Which is important.
this adds a lot of synergy to a deck that is kind of unsure of what it's doing other than like attacking and making treasures.
Yeah.
So now we know that we're focusing on treasures, we're focusing on counters and going wide and actually making your sort of 3/2s with evasion into threats.
Yeah. And the total cost of all these cards when I added it up,
right down to the wire,
$49.50.
Nice.
Natty. Yeah, I was very surprised.
That's using the whole buffalo.
That's the whole buffalo. We're just not eating like one eyeball.
Gross, and it's not a good eyeball.
Yeah, you don't want to eat them buffalo eyeballs.
Yeah, you can foil out one of the.
Gary ate a buffalo eyeball 16 years ago, and that man never been the same. He changed fundamentally. He says he's got the eye of the cow now. He's all buried up in the hills, giving fortune-telling readings.
Yeah.
Charging an arm and a leg, a literal arm and a leg. So you don't want to be a part of that. Gary gone crazy.
The other eyeball's fine. We did eat that.
No, we got framed in my saloon. Saying don't eat, otherwise you'll be like Gary. Poor Gary's daughter, she's been stranded ever since. No one wants to marry the poor lass because Gary gone crazy and there's no family fortune left because he spent it all on his sweet fortune-telling hideout in the hills. Wow, we're going deep on Gary.
Gary sounds sweet.
Yeah.
I'll hang out with Gary.
Yeah, his family would disagree, but Gary, he's really living his truth now.
Living that
he found his zone of genius. All right, cards to cut. So 10 cards had to get out of the deck.
Yeah.
Sorry, deck. I would play 110 cards if you let me.
So, yeah, honestly.
The first card is Impulsive Pilfer. This is like a cute little goblin pirate. It's a 1-mana 1/1 that when it dies, you create a treasure token, and then it has Encore for 3 in a red. I just don't think this is impactful enough.
It's pretty dead pretty late in the game.
And even later on, if you Encore for 4, it's like, cool, you're not going to be able to hit anyone with the 1/1, most likely. And then when it dies, you make 3 treasures, but like you've got other ways to do it at that point. And it's great on turn 1. And really, really bad later on. It's fine for like graveyard fodder, but again, I think the 4-mana slot, you don't want to be encoring Impulsive Pilferer out. That's not. And also, you get the treasures when it dies, so you don't get to activate Olivia's ability with the treasures, which is kind of what you would want to do.
Right. I think this card is better in decks that have sack outlets and can really control when this thing dies. Because if you just draw it late and you're like, boy, I hope I get to block with this, it does not feel...
Oh, yeah, that sucks. You have to find a way to get to the graveyard,
This next one is Bounty Board. This is 3 mana for an artifact that taps to add 1 mana of any color. It also has an activated ability that says 1 tap, put a bounty counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery, and whenever a creature with a bounty counter on it dies, each of its controller's opponents draws a card and gains 2 life.
So it's like, hey, we want you to incentivize other players to get rid of this creature because they're going to draw cards and gain life. But this means 3 players around the table are going to be gaining life and drawing cards outside of yourself. And this mana rock in this deck is no longer a mana rock.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of push and pull here because, like, if you activate this, you're spending 2 mana, you're tapping your rock and activating it to be like, hey, this thing's the problem. And if you kill it, we'll gain some life and we'll draw a card off of it. But that requires them to have a destroy spell, first of all.
Not exile.
Not exile, not bounce, which is, very, very common in Commander. And also requires them to care.
They're like, yeah, that's a you problem, Jimmy.
You can figure that out.
That's a Gary problem. That's not a me problem.
I think these cards really need in a deck that can reliably kill things regularly.
Yeah,
but,
or like, was it Matthias? There's a Mardu person that does just add bounty counters as well.
Yeah, that makes bounty counters just a little bit easier to use. I think it's a neat card. It is a little weird here.
The fact that you can only activate the bounty part as a sorcery feels very bad. Because you don't want to play a 3-mana rock and then spend another mana tapping that to put a bounty counter on something. And so, it is getting rid of a piece of ramp, but there are other cards that we added, I think, get there.
Yeah. You can't do it at instant speed. That's busted.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
You're like, I kill the thing that your blocker.
Oh, in response to add a bounty counter to it.
Yeah, that sounds busted.
Nope. But if you have a commander that cares about bounty counters, then this card is sweet in that deck.
Yeah.
But not this one. I'm also cutting Humble Defector, which is 1 in a red. You can tap it to draw 2 cards, and then the opponent gains control of it. Activate only during your turn.
This is not an aggro card.
No.
You do not want your opponents to have more cards than you.
No. It is a rogue, so it is an outlaw.
But you're not attacking with this.
No, we're gonna outlaw this from the deck.
Yeah, Humble Defector is a weird include in this deck. If you're doing a cheap outlaw, like a 2-mana outlaw, those are very good in the deck, but this doesn't have any evasion, this doesn't have an attack trigger or damage trigger
and
or anything.
Then you give it to your opponent who can then block with it if they want to, or activate it and draw 2 cards. Not great, yeah.
Not great.
The next one is a 7-mana card that Uncivil Unrest basically took the place of. It is Angrath's Marauders. Now, I could see some of you being like, no, there's no way you can cut this card. That's totally fine. It says, if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. But it's a 7-mana 4/4. So it's a bit expensive. I just like Uncivil Unrest better, but you could make an argument for having both in the deck. You can just find another card to cut if you like this one.
It's a little bit win more in this deck, where if you have a board that's wide enough where this is good, then you're probably good. You can just activate Olivia again, put more counters on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Marauders, it's Aetherborn Marauder.
Right.
3 and a black for an Aetherborn Rogue. It is a 2/2 with flying and lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, move any number of +1/+1 counters from other permanents you control onto Aetherborn Marauder. Not really what you want to be doing.
This is also the most like, hey everyone, would you like to kill one of my creatures?
I just remove all of my counters for free.
Yeah.
It also just doesn't follow the play pattern of the deck. Like if you are activating, if all your stuff has counters on it from Olivia, which you're doing in the late game, why would you play this after that? You would play it first so you can put the counters on it. So you're like, it just gets the 2 counters from Olivia. So it's a 4-mana 2/2 flying lifelink. It's not very good.
It's cool that you can move any number of counters. So you can be like, all right, I'm going to put one here from one from there, and now it's a 5/5 or whatever. But again, it's 4 mana. We have a bunch of 4 mana cards we added. Like, I'd much rather have the Body Launderer than the Aetherborn Marauder.
Yeah.
And it can't attack the turn that comes down, so it just sits there and it's going to die. Next up, this card is just bizarre to me. I get it because it's an early threat, and maybe that's something that this deck still wants more of. But it's Mistmetal Skulk. It's a 1 and a white for a 1/1 with lifelink. Protection from mana value 3 or greater.
Yeah, I
so
just
it's like,
feel
it's evasive. You can sometimes swing with it because your opponents will only have 3 mana value or greater creatures.
I just feel like you're better with a 2-mana 1/1 flying lifelink.
Yeah. Totally.
Obviously, you would have to find an outlaw, but like that evasion is not
great.
Not strong enough for your 1/1 to always be able to get through.
Yeah, and it's a 1/1. It doesn't. It's not even like a 3/1 or something where it's like, oh yeah, I don't want to block this because it's going to hurt. And it has lifelink too, so maybe there's some synergy there. But I just think it's not a great card in the deck.
Yeah, the lifelink thing is kind of a side quest.
It's definitely a side quest.
The next card we're cutting is Hex. 4 black for a sorcery. Destroy 6 target creatures. I didn't count this as a board wipe because it's not.
It's not. We already have a bunch of other target interaction.
It's not quite there, and it's 6 mana, which is a lot. There's way more efficient ways to kill a lot of creatures, but not all of them.
And we're adding Damning Verdict to the deck, which I think is a great replacement for this like pseudo mini, not actually a board wipe.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up is Shiny Impetus. 2 and a red, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. And then whenever it attacks, you create a treasure token. I just don't like this card. It's really easy to get 2 for 1. And if you just play it on the creature and then they just find a way to, someone else blows it up or whatever, it just gets blocked and dies.
Here's how I know that I don't love Shiny Impetus in decks that I build, is when it gets put on my creatures, I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
My creature's too bigger, like that, and I don't have to do anything. You're like, all right, I'll hit you with the bigger thing. And obviously it's good for the player that played it, but I don't hate it that my creature's bigger. So
rarely is it that inconvenient that, I mean, you can put it on like a commander and stuff, and maybe it kind of acts as a removal spell, but I just don't, it just feels clunky to me.
This next one is a warlock. It's Misfortune Teller. 3 and a black for a 3/1 human warlock with death touch. Whenever it enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, create a 2/2 black rogue creature token. If it was a land card, create a treasure token. Otherwise, you gain 3 life. This is very expensive for this effect.
4 mana 3/1, has to wait a turn to attack, has to have cards to exile.
It gets it on ETB, but that requires there be something in the graveyard as well, which isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, and it may happen, right? But I've noticed recently a lot of the times I'm like, oh, I can't wait to put this graveyard hate card in my decks. I'm like, more often than not, I'm like, there's nothing for me to really get rid of that's impactful in graveyards.
Also, this incidental graveyard hate just isn't strong enough. It's sorcery speed. The strength of graveyard decks in Commander is that they have this huge amount of selection, right? So you can remove their best thing, hypothetically, but they still have their second best and their third best and their fourth best and their fifth best.
Right.
And it's just not fast enough to be able to interact meaningfully with a graveyard. So all it is sort of a slow token maker, which is fine. But
the 2/2 black rogue creature tokens are outlaws. I don't think they'll be able to get in that often. I just look at like Kellogg, for instance, as a comparison.
Yeah.
It's a 3-mana card that can attack the turn it comes down. It has first strike, and it creates a treasure token when it attacks, and it can steal stuff.
Yeah, and that's one cheaper.
And it's one cheaper, right? Misfortune Teller just kind of feels like, it's got enough keywords on it that match what the deck is doing, but it's actually not a great card in the deck.
Outlaws that are the same mana value as your commander are really awkward because now you're like, do I cast this so I can get one more treasure from my commander, or do I just cast my commander and get moving?
Yeah. This next card I think just sucks. It's Tenured Inkcaster. It's a 5 mana, 4 in the black for a 2/2. It's a warlock, and it says when it enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature, and then whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We're not an Aristocrats deck. This is very low impact.
Yeah, this isn't good until you have a wide board and have put counters on them from your commander, which means you've already made treasures. It's very good. Like, it's fine in the late game, but it has to be like the late game. It's gonna be dead for a long time.
And it's a 5-mana card. We've got better ones that we threw in there in our ads. So it's just a little low impact, and we're trying to refine.
Focus.
Okay, cool.
Hone.
Nice. Good job,
Those are
Olivia.
the 10 cuts. They are out of this deck.
We cut them in half. We took some scissors and we were like, you know what? Get out of here.
A lot of this was just cutting like low impact cards that when you draw them, they're going to feel like they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you want to do for this kind of precon, where you're like, we're adding cards that have more abilities that when you draw them, you're like, all right, I have options.
Yeah. I play Kellogg, can instantly steal a creature. I play Body Launderer, I can sacrifice and bring something back, I can sacrifice something to connive to get this clunker out of my hand so I can bring it back with the Outlaws thing,
And now you don't have to look into Mist Meadow Skulk's scary yellow eyes.
Kicking eyes. I am glad that Changeling Outcast is in this deck, though. It's a great card in this deck.
Very cool include,
Yeah. You want more of that. You want less of Mist Meadow Skulk, more of Changeling Outcast if you're going to go that direction.
So we've made some changes. We've added 10 cards. We've taken 10 cards out. The deck is going to play slightly differently now, but how do you expect the game plan of this deck to play out?
So I put in a lot of stuff that adds to the recursion package and the fact that you are going to be playing in a way that hopefully you know that you're going to get board wiped or get stuff removed because you have ways of getting stuff back that is sneaky and instant with the backup one Archpriest of Shadows.
Well done.
With your Body Launderer, Cauldron of Souls, right? All of these are like kind of tricksy ways of adding to your aggro-ness. Because if you're just pure aggro and you get blown out, we've seen this happen a lot of times on game nights, Mardu just sits there and twiddles its thumbs. So I think you're building as fast as you can, building a big evasive board, creating a lot of treasures, and then using those treasures wisely to either gain card advantage or just make sure that your board is, you're not spilling out your entire hand, but you're spilling out enough to make a difference and to sort of like know how to play the game out so that you can still win. And then if things get destroyed, great. You have ways to bring them back. You can even threaten to trade. Doesn't matter because you have ways to get it back. And then you also have some sack outlets, stealing other creatures. So it's a little disruptive, but mostly still sticking to the aggro plan, but having a lot of different ways to go wide if you need to in end game. Generate enough mana that out of nowhere after a board wipe, you have 7 treasures laying around. You can have a really explosive turn with your hasty stuff and still impact really quickly.
Yeah, what I like about this upgrade is it gives the deck a lot of like grindy power, which is what you want out of any kind of black aggro deck.
Yeah.
You just want to be able to be just to keep coming back and keep hitting again. Especially in Orzhov, you have so much recursive power that if your opponents answer it, you should be able to rebuild the fastest. You have the best tools to rebuild the fastest. And especially when you're committing so many creatures to the board, you want to be prepared for the long game. Like, you're hitting people in the early game. We talked a lot about the curve and making sure you're making treasures as fast as possible. But this deck, with these upgrades, can thrive in the late game. You've got the evasion, you've got the recursion, where if something happens, you're prepared to play the long game.
Yeah. And there's a lot of great cards in the deck, too, that help with this that we didn't mention today. Like the original Marchesa is in, or no, the second Marchesa is in here, the one that gives you Monarch, makes a 1/1. Right?
Yeah, makes assassins. Mm-hmm.
So there's like, I think this deck plays really well once you're able to sort of solidify, get rid of the clunkers. I would say if you're in a play group that demands better removal, there's probably some pieces of removal in there you could replace with like a 1 white-black, take 3 life. Get rid of
Anguish Unmaking,
all that sort of stuff, because Black-White has the best removal package in the game. So if you're looking to upgrade it further, that's the direction I would look at. Also, more Changeling Outcast type creatures instead of the clunkers at the top end.
Yeah. Cool. I think this deck is neat. I'm curious to see how it plays out in in the wild, how people are building this kind of deck, because people really love treasure tokens. I think the other direction you could take this is go all the way into treasures.
Full treasures, yeah.
And just go super, super cheap outlaws, and then like lean into the Academy of Manufacture and like all the gain and drain stuff.
Yeah, you can make Mirkwood bats in this deck.
Yeah.
Right? That is a different direction. I think that would take more. The reason I went.
Oh, that definitely
it's like
more
a
than
full
10
deck,
upgrades. Than this. I think the deck in the box really suggests creature strategy, recursive strategy, just a steady pressure of combat damage.
And keep Olivia in front, because that's where she likes to be.
Mm-hmm. Plus, you're going to be gaining life. People are going to, you're going to look out of reach.
For sure. All right, to the listeners, what do you think about this Precon compared to the other ones? Do you like this one more or less? Is there a reason that you're drawn to this one, or kind of disappointed or happy? Let us know. Were there any cards that we missed when we talked about them today? You think there's maybe a better card in the deck than the 3 that we mentioned about the best cards? And then are there any cards that we suggested that you would not take out, or you were definitely in agreement with? Whatever, just tell us what you think. That's what we want to know. We just want to know what you think. Because you're going to take that knowledge. You're going to go to cardkingdom.com/commandzone. No, sorry, cardkingdom.com/command.
There it is.
Also, I don't want to command anyone to do anything, but your inner voice is commanding you to upgrade your collection, build a new deck, get a Precon, buy a Precon for a friend. Maybe they're a Fallout fan.
We also will have the ARCHIDEKT link with the upgrades from this deck below, so you can go straight to that ARCHIDEKT link. You can go to the add section, and I believe you can add just that stack of cards straight to Card Kingdom.
Oh, that's amazing.
Make sure you're using the affiliate code when you do so, but it's super, super easy to buy this upgrade, and you can add the Precon to your cart as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that, Rachel. So yeah, cardkingdom.com/command, super convenient, and get all of your cards in one package so that you can get playing your cards immediately.
Yeah, and once those cards are in your hand, you're going to need to protect them. Go to ultrapro.com/command to pick up the hottest cowboy accessories in the Magic world. We've got some sweet ones in front of us. I've got a Marchesa. I believe this is the reprinted Angel of the Tithes.
They've got the
Archangel
cool
of the Tithes.
double gun, not really a gun.
Yeah, it's sweet. There's some really cool vibes going on in this set, and if you're building around it, it's fun to have the playmat and the deck box and the sleeves that matches, so you can show up in a cowboy hat to your next game night with your playgroup. Be like, whoa, what's going on? You're like, I built a new deck. I'm a changed man.
Sling blade. Yeah.
And ULTRAPRO will give you all of the accessories, high quality and beautiful, that you need to do so. And again, sign up for that newsletter to make sure that you get all the best deals. Go to ultrapro.com/command.
It says end step here where we talk about something cool outside the world of Magic. I guess we could talk about maybe our favorite Westerns.
That's a fun one.
There's a great one. It's a Korean movie called The Good, the Bad, the Weird.
Okay.
Which is a lot of fun. If you've ever seen The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, which is a classic Clint Eastwood movie, this is like a more modern, not related necessarily, but it's a very fun, lots of antics, lots of cool desert chases. So you should check that out. The Good, the Bad, the Weird. That's my Redco.
This is I don't know. Maybe it's a basic option, but Nope is incredible, and I don't know.
Nope.
I don't know if it's like
it's kind of a Western.
I think it's a Western.
Yeah,
and it's not a traditional Western. It's not a spaghetti Western, but it's
like horror Western.
It's horror Western, which is really, really cool, and I think kind of it definitely has the spaghetti Western suggestion.
Certainly better than Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a kind of a comparison.
It has like a very weird, like sort of magic vibe because we're mixing aliens with cowboys with like
surreal horror.
Yeah. So I think it's a particularly cool one. If you never saw Nope, go see that.
Yeah, Jordan Peele directed that one. Great.
It's really sweet.
And yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone. The cleanup step. Let's thank everyone here, the amazing team at the Command Zone. We have Damon Lenz, Eric Lem, Megan Yip, Gaurav Galati, Jordan Pridgeon, Jamie Block, Arthur Meadowcroft, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Jake Boss, Sam Wallace, Evan Limburger, Katie Gold, Mitch Stravert, and how's it, Josh Lee Kwai.
Yeah!
Good thing I didn't hit the camera.
Good job.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Howdy do.
Bye.
Later, partner. I'm going to go say hi to Gary.
Thank you for your attention. For further inquiries, send an email to commandcast@rocketjump.com or ask us on Twitter @JFWong and @JoshLeeQuai. See you later, alligator.
Greetings, humans.
This is black, white, red. This is a Neapolitan Precon.
Neapolitan, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry.
Yeah. Mardu's Neapolitan. This is too high.
Never thought about that like that. Okay.
I know. I thought about that this morning and was like, Golgari's mint chocolate chip.
Yes. And then what's Rocky Road? White black?
Damon said Raktos.
Black red? But Rocky Road doesn't have red in it, does it?
It's like brown. It's like chocolate ice cream with black bits in it.
Black red would be like chocolate strawberry, which would just...
Yeah, I said Cherry Garcia, but that's like white. It's like vanilla.
No. Oh, yeah. Cherry Garcia's close.
Yeah. You need like cherries in chocolate ice cream.
Okay, there you go.
Is
like
a
dark
Raktos
cherry.
Thing. But I haven't seen that though.
Just the richest.
Yeah. Just heart attack ice cream.